She planned to vanish into the night, but the silent driver through one quiet gesture made her choose to stay. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the most touching stories are the ones told without a single word. Tokyo at night is a maze of lights. Neon signs blink in red and blue, trains slice through steel tracks, and billboards flicker above towering glass buildings. People walk fast, eyes down, earbuds in masks on. Each person is their own private universe, quietly spinning in a sleepless city. Amid that blur of motion, a black taxi glides slowly through narrow back streets. Reflections of Kabukicho's bright chaos dance on its windows, but inside there is silence. The driver is a middle-aged man in a plain uniform, black cap low over his brow. His face unremarkable except for his calm eyes and a stillness that feels almost out of place in Tokyo. That man is Keanu Reeves. No one recognizes him, and he prefers it that way. Just one night being someone who doesn't have to be anyone. He rolls through Shibuya's famous scramble as the crosswalk countdown blinks red. A passenger gets out. No goodbye, no glance back. Just another stranger swallowed by the neon. Minutes later, a young woman waves him down near Shinjuku Station. She's wearing a long coat, hair messily tied back, her face pale like she just ran from something. She opens the door and slips into the back seat. "Shibuya Sakura Dori," she says. Her voice is faint, almost broken. Keanu nods once. No questions, no turn of the head. The car moves. For the first few minutes, there's nothing. Just the quiet hum of the fan, the rhythm of tires over city lines, and Tokyo's electric chaos dimming behind glass. Then suddenly, a choked sob from the back seat. She's crying. At first, just a tremble, then a breathless sniff, then full, unstoppable sobbing. No restraint, no apology. Just a woman in a taxi, in a city of 40 million, crying like she no longer believes anyone is watching. Keanu keeps driving, eyes on the road. No glance in the mirror, no small talk, but his hands tighten gently on the wheel. As if inside this nameless taxi, her grief has quietly found someone willing to ride with it for a while. She was still crying, no longer in sobs, but the kind of silence that comes when you've already run out of tears. Keanu didn't speak. He only reached forward slightly and adjusted the air conditioning, lowering the fan to its softest hum. Outside, the city lights painted streaks across the glass, white and gold lines that sliced across her face like fading cracks of light. "If you had the choice?" Her voice broke through the silence, hoarse and fragile. "Would you choose to live without feelings?" Keanu didn't answer. She kept speaking, eyes still on the window. "I wish I could just turn it all off, Joy." Anger, hope, everything, like a switch. Her hand curled into a fist, fingernails digging into her palm. Why do we have to feel so much? What's the point? Just so we know how weak we really are? Keanu didn't say a word. Instead, he reached into the glove box, pulled out a simple worn tissue, and without looking back, extended it behind him. She stared at his hand for a few seconds, then took it. And for the first time, she was quiet. No more questions, no theories, just a brief pause in which someone had reached across time and silence, with something so small and yet exactly right. The car turned onto a quiet side street. No traffic, no signs, just a lonely row of streetlights and a few raindrops beginning to tap against the windshield. She wiped her face, the makeup came off with it, and for the first time, she didn't care. "Do I even know where I'm going?" Keanu asked, his voice low. Calm but clear, she didn't speak for a moment, then shook her head almost imperceptibly. "No." Just one word. But it was the first truth she had told herself all night. And the man in front, No judgment, no instructions, just nodded gently, as if to say, "That's okay too." The taxi kept gliding through long, empty streets. Outside Tokyo still pulsed as always, never dark, never silent. Neon lights flashed across karaoke bars, pachinko parlors, vending machines. The soundtrack of the city never stopped. But inside the car, another world had taken shape. No one spoke. There was no need. Because sometimes silence is the deepest kind of reply. The young woman rested her head against the window. Her hair clung to her cheek, her hand still clutching a crumpled tissue. She wasn't crying anymore, but her eyes still held no light, just a quiet kind of exhaustion. "Can you stop here?" Her voice barely touched the air. Keanu looked ahead. A quiet stretch, no signs, no crosswalks, just a small bridge crossing a dark, narrow canal. He pulled over. She opened the door and stepped out, one step, two. She stopped at the center of the bridge, hands on the cold railing. The wind was stronger there. Below the water was pitch black, no moon, no reflection. Keanu stayed in the car, interior lights off. He didn't follow. Not yet, because there are moments where stepping in too soon can break something fragile. She stood still. No more tears, just her eyes on the water, as if asking it a silent question. If I disappeared, would anyone notice? What she didn't know was inside that taxi, someone was watching. Not to rescue, but to be there just in case. That black taxi, parked in the gold and red haze of Tokyo's sleepless city, sat still like a prayer that didn't need to be spoken aloud. The wind on the bridge grew stronger the moment the taxi stopped. She stood alone. No phone, no bag, just a thin coat and two hands clutching the railing as if trying to hold on to something final. Below her, the water was pitch black, refusing to reflect even a single flicker of light. It was as if the whole city had turned its back. Keanu still sat in the car, then quietly he stepped out. Not rushed, not loud. He didn't run, didn't call out. He simply stood. A few meters away. No, closer, no further. She glanced at him reflexively, not surprised, just tired. "Why are you out here?" Her voice was dry. "Almost gone," Keanu replied, steady. "I don't know." She blinked. That wasn't what she expected. She'd braced for. "Don't do this," or "Life has so much ahead," or "I've been where you are." But none of that came, just a man. No answers, no lessons, still standing there. "I don't want to go back," she said. "I don't even know why I'm still here." Keanu looked at her. Said nothing, silence, but not the cold kind, not distance, just presence. He didn't agree, didn't argue. He was just there. And for someone on the edge, sometimes the thing that stops you from falling isn't a hand pulling you back. It's a pair of eyes that don't flinch, don't pity, but truly see you. She stood at the railing, hands tight. Keanu stood a short distance away, no closer, no farther. Silence settled between them, filled only by wind and the soft slap of water against the bridge supports. Then, in a voice low and even, he spoke on. "I once drove someone, a young guy." She didn't turn around, but she listened. Clearly, because he wasn't trying to make a point. He was simply remembering. He sat in the back for nearly 30 minutes, never said a word. At the end of the ride, just as we stopped, he asked me, "If I disappeared, would you remember me?" She still. Keanu kept speaking, his eyes on the lights in the distance. I told him, "I wouldn't remember you, but you'd leave a space behind, one no one could name." She didn't look at him, but her grip on the railing loosened just slightly. He didn't reply, just cried, then laughed, then said, "I guess I still want to exist. If someone notices that space, I'd leave." Keanu paused, as if letting the words land without rushing. I don't know where he is now, but I know. He didn't jump that night. No background music, no dramatic moment. Just a story, short enough to keep you from tuning out and real enough to stay with you forever. The taxi moved again through the heart of Tokyo. This time it didn't feel lost. There was no clear destination, but the woman in the back seat no longer wanted to disappear. Keanu didn't ask anything. He simply drove, steady pace eyes on the road, ears listening to every breath behind him. She looked out the window for a long time, then spoke. No build-up, no warning, just truth. My mom died 7 months ago. Her voice was flat, not emotionless, just dry. We didn't get along. When she passed, I didn't cry. I didn't feel pain. At first, I thought I was strong. But then I realized I had nothing left to feel. Keanu didn't reply, didn't turn. He just eased the car down slightly as a yellow light blinked ahead. She continued. My friends, they're doing well. Careers, weddings, babies, travel photos, and I'm still me. My only peaceful hour in the day is the train ride because nobody knows who I am. Her voice didn't shake, but it had the tone of someone who's been silent for too long and isn't looking for advice, just a place to speak. I used to think if I disappeared, the world might get lighter. One less failure, one less useless person. Keanu said nothing. He didn't argue. He didn't say, no, you're important. He didn't say, you're wrong, because sometimes the most healing thing you can offer is the space to finish the sentence. She leaned her head back against the seat. I don't want to burden anyone anymore. But thank you for not leaving. The taxi stayed steady, no applause, no grand music, just one person starting to return to herself in her own voice. After a long pause for the first time that night, Keanu spoke about himself. Not to comfort, not to fix, but as if he was remembering something he'd never quite said aloud. I used to think I was just a lost character in someone else's story. She didn't respond right away, but she didn't interrupt either. He went on. I went through days not knowing if I was really alive or just continuing. Everything felt too neat, too correct, too pointless. The taxi moved slowly. Streetlights rolled across his face like pages turning in a quiet, forgotten book. There was a morning I woke up and felt no reason to get out of bed. Not because anything terrible happened, but because nothing did. She nodded barely. Her eyes welled up again. Not from pain this time, but from recognition. Keanu smiled. Not the screen smile, not the it'll be okay kind, but the kind of smile you only get from someone who has stood at the edge and stayed anyway. I didn't stay because I was strong. I stayed because I wanted to know if maybe one day a single sentence might change my mind. She wiped her eyes, then let out a soft laugh through her breath. And tonight, it's me. Keanu looked into the rearview mirror. Their eyes met for just a second, then returned to the road. I don't know. But I'm glad I stayed long enough to find out. The taxi kept moving slowly, as if neither of them really wanted to arrive just yet. She leaned her head against the seat, gazing out the window. Not hollow anymore. Now her eyes looked like someone who had weathered the storm and knew she was still here. Do you talk to all your passengers like this? She asked gently, like she didn't want to disturb the calm inside the cab. Keanu gave a quiet laugh. No one word. Enough, why me? He thought for a moment, then replied, because you didn't pretend? She said nothing, but her eyes smiled before her lips did. A red light. The taxi stopped at a quiet intersection. She looked up at a glowing billboard across the street, an ad featuring a famous actor's face. Not Keanu. No one knew the man driving this cab. And that's what made tonight matter. "I don't even know your name," she said. "And I didn't ask for yours," he replied. He nodded once. "We don't have to know, we just have to remember." She smiled, genuinely, simply. For the first time in many months, she didn't feel invisible. The light turned green, the car rolled on. She sat upright now. "I'll get off at the next turn." Keanu didn't ask. "Are you sure he only said the way he'd been all night?" All right, because he knew this time that choice truly belonged to her. The taxi turned onto a quiet side street near Yoyogi Park. Dim streetlights flickered, and a faint glow came from a convenience store in the distance. "Here's fine," the woman said softly. Keanu stopped the car, turned off the engine. No questions, no hesitation. She opened the door. Cool night air swept in, chilly but calm. She stepped out, then paused, standing still for a second, as if debating something. Then she turned back and bowed slightly. "Thank you." No big speeches. No dramatic closure. Just 2 words spoken, not from despair this time, but from someone who had been seen and allowed to exist quietly. Keanu gave a small nod, eyes still on the steering wheel. "Sleep well?" She smiled, stepping back a few paces. No waving, no exchange of names or numbers. Because they both understood if they tried to hold on, they might break the very thing they just shared. She turned away, walking slowly along the sidewalk. Each step was steady, not heavy, and no one passing by would guess she'd once considered not walking away at all. Keanu remained seated. He glanced into the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty now. No more tears, no more shaking hands. Just a quiet space, enough to remind him that he'd done something right without needing anyone to confirm it. He exhaled light. Quiet, then turned the key. The car rolled forward again into a city that never sleeps and never stops, needing someone who knows how to listen. The next morning, on a small Tokyo forum dedicated to strange little moments, a post appeared titled, "I just witnessed the softest thing I've ever seen in a taxi." No photo, no names, no hashtags. Just a short paragraph describing what the posters saw while waiting at a bus stop near the park. A young woman stepped out of a taxi late at night. She bowed to the driver, then turned into a quiet alley. No one was waiting for her. No one walked with her. But something about her eyes made me stay a few minutes longer. Not because she was pretty, but because I felt like she had just come back from a very far place, not on a map. The poster didn't know who the driver was, only remembered that he didn't look back, didn't wave goodbye, didn't smile politely. He just sat there like someone who had just helped another person out of a very dark room. The post got shared. Quietly, slowly. A psychology student commented, "This is why I believe sometimes we're saved without anyone realizing it. Even the person who saved us." Another user, a former taxi driver, added, "We're not trained to rescue people. But some nights, just not asking, not pushing, not judging is enough to keep someone alive one more day." No one mentioned Keanu Reeves. No one knew it was him. And that's what made the story matter more. It didn't need a name. Just someone who cared enough not to look away. On another street lit by tired neon and glass reflections, a black taxi pulled quietly to the curb. No passengers, no calls, just a man behind the wheel gazing out at the road as if waiting not for someone, but for a moment that would never repeat itself. That man was Keanu Reeves. No one recognized him. No one knew what he had just done, and if anyone asked, he might simply say, "I just drove a taxi for one night." A soft breeze drifted past, brushing a few leaves across the street. The traffic light turned green. He pressed the gas gently. The taxi moved forward as if it had never stopped, as if it had never saved anyone. But that night, someone had come back from the edge. Someone had been heard without being fixed. And a story with no clear ending would be remembered forever. No headlines, no tribute, no need for names. Just one moment where someone stood still long enough for another person to realize they weren't invisible. This story doesn't need an ending because the most important part already happened in silence. And like all true silences, it stays.